A Little Book of Satanism, written by Ecstasy. A word for Satan. I wrote this out of devotion to Lord Satan. May my words spread your message to all who seek wisdom and enlightenment. May you guide those who need you most and show them the way. I thank you for all you have done for me in my life. I am forever grateful and indebted to you. You saved my life and showed me the light in the darkness. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be here to see the beauty in life today. I know I could never repay you for everything you've helped me through, but I hope my writings can help others find their way in their time of need. You've given me a reason to be here, a reason to enjoy my life, while I can, and not squander it. Hail Satan. The purpose of this book. This book is meant to be a general overview of the practice of Theistic Satanism. This book includes information on the sects of Satanism, practice, symbolism, rituals, and everything else you'll need to start your journey or study in Theistic Satanism. It is intended to be written as simply as possible, so anyone competent can read it. This is not a book on a singular viewpoint or belief system. I'll be showing multiple different forms of theistic worship. For those who wish to start their journey, my intention is not to tell you how to worship Satan. I want this book to inspire those who stumble upon it to worship in their own way. Do what resonates with you. In my opinion, there is no correct method to the worship of Satan. We all have the same goal but different methodology. I see no reason to believe our Lord prefers one over the other. So long as worship is respectful and doesn't harm oneself or others, I don't see an issue. I urge those who read this to find their own path and not simply follow as sheep. Don't listen to a singular person or group. Experiment and find enlightenment in what truly makes sense to you. Whether that be through a sect or self-styled practice, be aware of echo chambers and avoid falling into them. Only the fool accepts what he's told without question. Part 1. What is Theistic Satanism? Theistic Satanism, also called traditional, religious, or spiritual Satanism, is an umbrella term for religious groups or individuals who worship a literal Satan, or other adversarial deities which the practitioner identifies as Satan. Theistic Satanism is composed of sects which usually identify with their own label to differentiate their beliefs from that of other Satanists. A good comparison to make would be that of Christian denominations. They're all Christian, but individually, some may be Catholic, Protestant, Methodist, etc. Same applies to Theistic Satanists. We're all Theistic Satanists, but we hold different beliefs. Some identify as Luciferians, some as Diabolists, some as self-styled, but at the core we're all still Satanists. Sects can vary greatly in practice and philosophy, some to the point where to an outside observer they can seem like completely different religions. The reason for this is because Theistic Satanism is an individualistic practice. We don't have a central text or figure which outlines the core practices or tenets, so a lot is left up to the interpretation of the practitioner. This could spell disaster for most religious groups, but in reality this is what most people who seek to get into Theistic Satanism are looking for. Satanism is a contrast to the Abrahamic religions, is a far less authoritative system. We have no set rules, there is no expectation of worship, and you can practice as you please. The main focus is the individual and their spiritual growth, a far stretch from religions which most Satanists convert from. For simplicity's sake, I will be using the terms Theistic Satanism and Satanism interchangeably. Principles. There are no set principles within Theistic Satanism. Sects often share some common values like personal enlightenment, growth, and autonomy, although you'll never find two Satanists with the exact same beliefs. If you do, it's a good indication that the individual hasn't independently researched much beyond their circle. I will be given a few of the commonly shared principles by sects. As previously mentioned, not every Satanist will share these, but in my personal experience talking to fellow Satanists over the years, these are the most prominently agreed upon which I've encountered. Individualism. Theistic Satanists tend to be strong individuals who reject collectivist structures and ideologies. Some more specific examples of things Theistic Satanists may reject in relation to collectivist ideology could include organized religion, some political beliefs, and societal norms or traditions. This can sometimes come from the influence of stories like the fall of Lucifer or that of the demonization of Lilith. Individuality are integral parts of such stories, whether taken metaphorically or quite literally. They serve as an inspiration for many Satanists. Anti-authoritarianism. Satan is often seen as the rebellious deity because of the Abrahamic faiths. Stories such as Lucifer in the Bible refusing to conform to God and Iblis refusing to bow to Allah in the Quran often heavily influence the philosophy of practitioners. Theistic Satanists very often hold anti-authoritarian views and tend to oppose authoritative belief systems. Bodily autonomy. Bodily autonomy is the inalienable right to one's own body. Theistic Satanists very often hold the belief in the natural rights in regard to one's own body as their property. This is often because of the story of Lilith, in which Lilith is demonized by God for not conforming to Adam. Religious freedom. Theistic Satanists almost always believe in religious freedom. This is often a result of the criminalization of practice in religions such as Satanism for long periods of history. For many theistic Satanists, religious rights are seen as the main reason we can practice in modern times. Free speech and expression. Many theistic Satanists are in favor of freedom of speech and expression. This is usually as a result of the association of this with previous principles, but alternatively it can be because of Satan's overall nature. In many stories, Satan speaks out and influences humans to seek knowledge independently from God. Personal and spiritual growth. Personal development is a huge part of Satanism. Many Satanists will make practices such as shadow work and meditation core elements of their personal practices. Sex equality. In my experience, many Satanists believe in sex equality in the legal sense. This can be for a variety of reasons, although the most prominent I've encountered are the story of Lilith and the hermaphroditic symbol of Baphomet. As previously mentioned, not every theistic Satanist will agree upon these exact principles as I've written them. There is always some variation between individuals or groups, although their general basis for our beliefs is a good summary. If you wish to gain deeper insights on a particular group or sect, I'd suggest independently researching their beliefs. Many groups have their own views on the principles of theistic Satanism and may disagree wholly with what I've written here. It all depends on the group or sect and what they personally believe. Symbols. Many satanic symbols are widely used in pop culture, from the popular depiction of Baphomet to demonic sigils. Many of our symbols have managed to leak into mainstream media. In this section, I'll be going over many of the commonly used symbols. Inverted pentagram. The inverted pentagram is quite possibly the most widely known satanic symbol. The oldest findings we have for the pentagram were found on Sumerian pottery from 3500 BCE. It has had many meanings over the centuries, from the Star of Ishtar to the five senses, although to Satanists it usually is a symbol of the Baphomet. Sigil of Baphomet. Although commonly misattributed to the non-theistic Church of Satan, the sigil of Baphomet actually first appeared in a book called La Clef de la Magie Noire by French occultist Stanislas de Guaita in 1897. The Hebrew writing spells out Leviathan, an ancient serpent from biblical texts. It serves today as the main symbol representing Satanism. Baphomet. Baphomet first originated in 1307, with the Knights of Templar being on trial for accusations of heresy after they were accused of worshipping Baphomet. Baphomet has been associated with the sabbatic goat illustration by Eliphas Levi since 1856, by far the most popular pieces of art within Satanism. Leviathan or sulphur cross. The sulphur cross was originally used to represent an element known as brimstone in its antiquity, which we know as sulphur. The first usage of the Leviathan cross by a self-identified Satanist was by Anton LaVey. There is some contention within the community on this issue, although most who disagree with its validity simply don't use it in their practices or group. Sigil of Lucifer. The sigil of Lucifer originated in the 18th century book Grimorium Verum, which was attributed to the Alabak the Egyptian, who supposedly wrote it in 1517. The sigil was originally part of a ceremony to summon Lucifer. Sigil of Lilith. The Lilith sigil is likely one of the newest symbols commonly used by Satanists. Although often misattributed, this sigil actually originated from a 2007 LiveJournal post. The user, Robin Artisan, details how he created the sigil in the following post. Begin by taking your name and removing any redundant letters to achieve the key letters. Then if you have any I's that can collapse into another letter that has essential stem, like a T or an L, then you can collapse it in, leaving you with the bones of your sigil. Then take the bones or main constituents of the sigil and use your creativity. This example, I will flip the T upside down so that I can merge the L with it, and then put a stylized small h protruding from the central column. I will grimoirize the sigil by placing solar crosses at the end of each straight line in the sigil, leaving the H alone. Then, you toss a circle around it with Lilith's name evenly spread around the insides of the circle, and you are finished. Chaos Star. Some Satanists incorporate chaos magic into their practice and choose to use the Chaos Star as a result. The symbol originated from Michael Morlock's novel series Alric of Melnibone. Serpentary Star. The Serpentary Star is mainly known for its usage by groups under the banner of the Order of the Nine Angles. The original creator, purpose, and meaning are lost to time. Not all of those who use the symbol adhere to the beliefs of the O9A. Some practitioners or groups follow their own systems which incorporate this symbol. There are plenty of other symbols not listed here. Do not take this as a definitive list. Almost every demon has their own symbol, not to mention the various alchemical symbols which may be used in practice. This list is only meant to help recognize the most common symbols and understand their meaning. As previously mentioned, always do your own individual study if you have interest in a specific sect or subject. Practice. How an individual practices varies greatly between sects or practitioners. I will be going over a couple common altar items and altar building advice for beginners, although they may not all apply to everyone. Take what works and leave the rest. Altars. The altar is your personal symbol of devotion. No two altars are the same, because all Satanists are uniquely different. Some may be elaborate, some may be minimalistic. Whatever suits you is what you should go with. There is no right way of setting up a satanic altar, but there are some basic things you'll need for most rituals. Altar cloth. Used for protecting your chosen surface from wax. Some Satanists choose to have symbols on their cloth, although this is not a requirement. An idol of Satan. Many depictions of Satan are used for idols, although Baphomet is a common choice among practitioners, usually used as the centerpiece of the altar. A theme or ritual knife. The ritual knife or a theme is used primarily for invocation and drawing blood. Chalice or goblet. The chalice is used for liquid offerings and symbolic purposes in some rituals, notably some variations of the Black Mass and dedication ritual. Candles. Candles are primarily used as offerings and as a light source during ritual. Some rituals may call for specific candles or colour. Offering and burning bowls. The offering and burning bowls are usually separate, although some Satanists choose to use one for both purposes. Altar care. Altars are usually cleaned as needed, although how often you clean your altar doesn't particularly matter so long as it's clean. Some Satanists choose to clean their altars in routine, example, once a year, biannually, etc. This is usually because of the belief that physically cleaning the altar strips away the energy from it. Not every Satanist holds this particular view. Daily practice. As with many other religions, many Satanists choose to adopt daily practices to help better incorporate Satanism into their life, or to build their individual bond with Satan. This can be anything from a short prayer to full daily rituals, depending on the practitioner. Daily practice is not a requirement of Satanism. Some sects or individuals take daily worship a lot more seriously than others, but never feel forced to worship. Worship should happen out of devotion, not because you feel coerced. If an individual practices rituals every day and they're happy with that, then that's perfectly fine, and vice versa. Building routine. In order to build a strong connection to Satan, some Satanists choose to incorporate Satanism into their routine. This can be done by building the habit of daily prayer or ritual. If you have poor memory, you can utilize routine apps or timers to remind you of your preferred time for prayer or ritual. Doing this makes Satan a part of daily life, which can be integral to build a relationship with Satan. Many Satanists choose to make their own prayers or rituals to do daily. This can be done and is a lot more common than some may assume. There are no set in stone guidelines on making rituals or what to do during a ritual. So long as worship is respectful, it is considered appropriate. Prayer and ritual template. Practices differentiate between individuals, although most rituals follow a general pattern. Again, this is not a definitive, although it is a very common pattern I've noted among Satanists. Invocation. The specific invocation used varies between practitioners. The purpose of the invocation is essentially inviting the entity you are working with. whether this to be Satan, a demon, or some other adversarial entity. The way this is commonly done is by lighting the altar candles, drawing the sigil of the entity in the air with the athame, and saying the invocation the individual uses. Giving offerings. The specific offerings and disposal process varies between Satanists, although common ones are incense, herbs, resin, and food. Some offerings may be burned or buried and disposed of outside once finished, whereas others may be kept. The main body of the ritual. The main body of the ritual is the intent behind the ritual. This is where some pray, ask for guidance, meditate, or a plethora of other ways people spend the majority of their ritual time. What an individual does during this time is completely up to them. Some rituals call for specific actions, although these usually have a particular purpose in mind, which can be anything from gaining insight on one's life to assistance with destroying their enemy. End of ritual. The end of the ritual consists of saying goodbye to the entities which you have invoked during the ritual. Some theistic Satanists choose to dispose of used offerings during this time before the candles are blown out, whereas others choose to leave them for 24 hours before disposal. Offerings. Many things can be given as offerings. Everything from candles to full meals can be given as offerings to Lord Satan, although there are way too many specific items which can be offered. Here I will list the most commonly given. Bodily fluids. Bodily fluids are usually considered some of the most powerful offerings. To offer something containing your DNA is to offer a part of yourself. These include blood, sexual fluids, tears, and saliva. Bodily fluids are offered by putting the fluid onto paper and then burning. Alcohol. Any alcohol can be used as an offering. It is used by leaving it on the altar in a chalice, then disposed of outside. If the practitioner wants to drink the alcohol, it is usually customary that the first drop is offered before consumption. Candles. Candles can be given as an offering. Some choose to carve pentagrams onto their candles. You can carve sigils of demons onto them if you intend on offering the candle to a specific demon. Incense. Incense can be given to Satan, to any other demonic divine as an offering. Any incense can be used, but some rituals may call for use for a specific type of incense. Food. Food can also be used as an offering to Lord Satan. Generally, it does not need to be cooked, although it does need to be bought or obtained for that specific purpose. It should be placed on an offering bowl or placed in front of the altar. Herbs. Many Satanists choose to offer herbs. Some common examples include sage, lavender, and mugwort. Demonolatry. Demonolatry is the worship of demons. It is often mistakenly referred to as demonology, which is the study of demons. Demonolatry is not a sect of Theistic Satanism, although most Theistic Satanists constitute as demonolators. The worship of demons is an unsurprisingly common practice within Theistic Satanism, although not every Satanist worships demons or identifies with the title of demonolator. There are many books Theistic Satanists draw from in terms of the practice of demonolatry, namely the Alsagorisha, Lesser and Greater Keys of Solomon. Some more modern books, such as the Complete Book of Demonolatry by S. Connolly, attempts to comprehensively compile the information in these books for Theistic Satanists and demonolators alike. Personal pantheons. Those who practice demonolatry tend to have their own personal pantheon of demons which they work with in their practice, as there are way too many demons to work with every single one individually. Most demons have one or multiple aspects which draw those to work with them. These can sometimes be elemental aspects like water, fire, air, and earth, or intent-based aspects like war, lust, fortune, and luck. What specific traits a demon has varies greatly depending on what you're working with. The number of demons a Theistic Satanist worships depends on the person. Some choose to work with a great number, some focus their attention on a singular entity, some don't worship any at all. All of which are perfectly fine. No part of Satanism is mandatory. A good number of groups have also had their own pantheon of demons which they work with. As with anything within Theistic Satanism, there's a lot of deviation. Demonic hierarchies. Many Satanists hold the view that demons fall in a particular hierarchy from Satan, although this is not a universal view. Some common deviations include the belief that they are manifestations of aspects of the universal human psyche, or that they are gods in equal power and synergy with Satan. There are hundreds of different hierarchies. Plenty of authors have repeated them and even made their own. It is a topic too extensive to fully cover in a book such as this, although I will give a few examples of demonic hierarchies. I will not be listing the hierarchies as they are extensive, but I will be going over the brief history of each. De Occulta Philosophia by Cornelius Agrippa. This book, or 3 Books of Occult Philosophy, is a collection of 3 books which first appeared in a Cologne in 1533. This hierarchy is based upon numeric scales. Examples of this include Scale of Unity, Scale of Ternary, and Scale of Binary. Dictionnaire Infernal by Colin de Plancy. Published in 1862, this book attempted to provide a comprehensive amount of all the knowledge on demonology, accompanied by illustrations which were later used in reprintings of the Lesser Key of Solomon, Ars Goetia, unknown author. The 72 infernal spirits originate from the 17th century book The Lesser Key of Solomon, one of the most famous books on demonology. The practices described within are usually adapted by Satanists, as many of us see them as disrespectful towards the entities. The Lantern of Light by John Wycliffe. The 7 Deadly Devils come from the Lantern of Light, which is a 15th century book attributed to John Wycliffe. It provided a hierarchy based upon the 7 deadly sins, within each demon corresponded to each sin. Pseudemonarchia Daemonum by Joanne Wyer. This book is incredibly similar to the Ars Goetia, despite it actually predating it. This hierarchy only lists 69 demons in contrast to the 72 listed in the Ars Goetia. Working with demons. The specific method to worship varies from demon to demon. Some are very similar to the way in which some practitioners choose to worship Satan, and some are vastly different. The way in which demons are worshipped can vary based on their traits, attributes, and largely to the culture they stem from. Some demons require things which others would find completely disrespectful. Always do sufficient research before beginning to work with any demon. You can find information on demons from a plethora of sources, from 16th century grimoires to modern adaptations to these texts online. They are quite easy to find. History. Unfortunately, the history of Satanism is shaky and much when undocumented. I will attempt to paint a picture of the history leading up to the modern Satanic movement in the most accurate light I reasonably can for what I'm working with. As mentioned, much when undocumented, and we may not have as full of a picture as we think as of the time for writing this. Always do your own research. The Dark Times, 13th century till the 17th century. The term Satanist originated as a derogatory term. It came into the English language from the French in the 16th century and was used as a baseless insult before it had any actual religious significance. In history, the accusation of devil worship has been a recurring theme since 1215, with the Albigens being the first to be formally accused of worshipping Satan. More notable examples include the Knights of Templar not long after 1307, the trials of the authors of Malus Maleficarum in 1486, the most famous example being the Salem witch trials of 17th century America. Although there are no reliable records of self-proclaimed Satanists from this time, likely due to the need for secrecy and many confessions being obtained via torture, there are many who continue to influence Satanism through their works even into the modern times. One of the most notable works from this time is John Milton's book Paradise Lost. Published in 1667, this was one of the first popular works to show a more human side to the Adam and Eve story. Many perceived John Satan as a heroic figure, which was uncommon for literature of this time. The poem helped solidify John Milton as one of England's greatest poets, and the imagery in his work continued to influence Satanists into modern times. The Age of the Grimoires, 18th century till the 19th century. The Age of the Grimoires was arguably the most influential period of Satanic history. In this period, many people were exploring occult beliefs and developing new concepts of religion. Notably in this period, the Grand Grimoire and the Grimorium Verum were written. Presumed to have been written in 1702, the Grimorium Verum was pretty undisputedly written as a hoax. I haven't encountered anyone who uses it personally, but I guarantee there is someone who does. The first account of this book appeared in the mid-18th century, although some claim it dates back to 1517. In 1856, Levi made the most famous illustration of Baphomet, which is still a common symbol among Satanists even in modern times. The symbol bears the Latin words solve and coagula, dissolve and coagulate, on each arm, which represents the alchemical philosophy of substances needed to be broken down to be rebuilt anew, a philosophy many Satanists hold to this day. Joris Karl Huysmans, published his novel La Basse that included the detailed description of a black mass, which he may have witnessed being performed in Paris. This is unconfirmed, although one of the most famous details of a black mass prior to the modern satanic movements. The Age of the Grimoires was incredibly influential to modern understanding of Satanism. Without it, we may have not been where we are today in terms of substance to our beliefs. The Age of Acceptance, 20th century till the 21st century. Our modern era is undeniably the golden age of the Satanic movement. Arguably, the biggest influence on Satanism from our modern times would be Aleister Crowley, whose works on Thelema greatly influenced the philosophy of modern Satanism. Other big influences on Satanism from this time include the works of Anton LaVey, The Golden Dawn, and the Order of the Nine Angles. Stanislaw was reportedly the first author to explicitly call himself a Satanist, describing it as basing his ideology primarily on Nietzsche and social Darwinism. He published the book Synagogue of Satan in 1897. The book was written in two parts, The Emergence of the Church of Satan and The Worship of the Church of Satan. Fraternitas Saturni was the first organized Luciferian group, to my knowledge, founded in 1926. It continues to operate as one of Germany's longest-running magical groups, preaching ideals of fraternity, freedom, and brotherhood. Neophyte Cultus Satanus, which was founded in Ohio in 1948, before later being dissolved after its leader's death in 1975, followed by the Order of the Morning Star, founded in 1952, based on the veneration of Lucifer, which they saw as a benevolent, angelic entity. Later, in 1966, the Church of Satan was founded as a non-theistic satanic group, which claims to be the creators of Satanism. Anton LaVey undoubtedly brought Satanism into the mainstream with the publication of the book The Satanic Bible, although he did not create Satanism. Theistic Satanism didn't gain traction of the publication of the Black Book of Satan by the Order of the Nine Angles in 1984. The group claims to predate all known satanic groups and have been found in the 19th century in the Welsh marshlands. Although there is not sufficient evidence to support this, the group is responsible for several terrorist attacks and is largely disliked within the community, mainly due in part to their reputation as an organization. Satanic creators are on most social media sites nowadays. The rise of the internet has led to many finding their way into satanic groups which mainly operate online. The accessibility of such information has definitely been a major factor in the recent uptick in followers of specifically theistic Satanism. As more and more theistic practitioners document their practices online, I theorize this will only go even further in coming years, especially considering most people in the Western world have some form of social media. The future of Satanism, 21st century onwards. It is easy to try and theorize how the future of Satanism will turn out, although nobody truly knows. Our community so far shows no sign of decline, but as with any small community, that can change surprisingly quickly. I hope in future more people will see the theistic side of the satanic community rather than the atheist political organizations. This is mainly just a hope, though as with theistic groups, they show no real sign of declination in membership. Their fate is for the future to tell. As with any community, in future years many creators and leaders will rise and fall. This is the natural cycle of any religious groups, especially one of our size. I hope in future Satanists will become more adept to content creation, as this is the primary way any modern movements spread their message. Through content creation, we can introduce a new generation to Satanism and keep our practices alive. The next generation are the only ones who can carry our practices forward into the future. I strongly urge any Satanist with knowledge of social media algorithms and the confidence to speak to make their own content. If you wish to better the future of Satanism, this is the best way to do it in my opinion. Once again, this is all theory and complete hope. Nobody can truly know how Satanism will evolve over the coming years. Maybe we'll grow, maybe we will slowly decline. Our future is in the hands of us and us only. Nobody is looking out for Satanism except Satanists. Sects in our community are often very different in both beliefs and practices. Take Diabolists and Luciferians for example, almost two polar opposite sides of the coin yet united in the belief of Satan. In my opinion, this is a beautiful thing. It allows those who practice to embrace the parts of Satanism which truly resonates with them. There is usually something for everyone in terms of groups, and even if there isn't, nobody will stop you from simply practicing in your own way. For those who wish to learn more about sects, this section acts as a basic overview of the majority sects. I will cover their basic beliefs, view of Satan, and a brief history. It is important to note this is simply an overview of the sects. Some subsections of these groups may not hold the same beliefs I cite here, and as previously mentioned, can vary widely in practice. Do not take what I say as definitive evidence of an individual's beliefs. Me nor anyone else has that authority. Self-styled Satanism. This is my own honourable mention. Self-styled Satanism is not a sect. It is a way of practicing without getting involved in sects. Simply take what makes sense in your studies and disregard the rest. You do not need to join a sect. Satanism is highly individualistic, and in my personal opinion, this is the best way to practice without ending up in an echo chamber. Mingle with all brands of Satanists, learn from them, and come to your own conclusions. This is what I've done for years of my practice. I've never felt any need to join an organised group. Some may want that feeling of belonging. If that's what you seek, then Satanism is not for you. Nothing will fill that hole inside of you. One must be comfortable and sure of themselves before they decide to become a Satanist. You must be strong-minded, or you will crumble under the opinion society will cast upon you. Diabolism. Diabolism is the worship of the Christian devil. As opposed to other satanic groups, Diabolists often believe in the Christian interpretations of the stories referring to Satan in the Bible. There is some deviation among their subgroups. Although most Diabolists believe in a dualistic system with Yahweh and the devil, it is close to reverse Christianity as you could get within Satanism. From my personal experience, a large portion of Theistic Satanists identify as Diabolists. The Diabolism, alongside Luciferianism, tends to be the practitioner's first introduction to Theistic Satanism, mainly due to the large portions of the community identifying with either sect. History. The term diabolism is a relatively modern term. It comes from the Greek word diabolos, which is an Abrahamic usage meaning devilinism, which implies a practice, doctrine, belief system, etc. I cannot find the original person who coined this term. Diabolists do not have much recorded history, although you could call many past groups or individuals Diabolists by modern standards. There are many groups and individuals who identify as Diabolists online. Some even have books on the practice. Notable figures such as Brother Nehru, who runs a small YouTube channel dedicated to this topic. Diabolists don't have a significant online presence and discussion, and tends to take place in small groups or forums. Anti-cosmic or chaos Gnostic Satanism. Anti-cosmic Satanists do not believe in Satan in the traditional sense, more as a false or sometimes a manifestation of the principle to their belief. To anti-cosmic Satanists, Satan is seen as the curator of primordial chaos who seeks to destroy the cosmic order and free humans from their servitude to it. Yahweh, often referred to as a demiurge, in contrast is seen as a cosmic god who wishes to keep order imposed upon chaos, hence keeping us from being free. Anti-cosmic Satanists sometimes believe in other gods alongside Satan, which oppose the cosmic gods. History. The first trace of anti-cosmic Satanism I could find is in the early Norwegian metal scene, the most famous and notable example being the Temple of Black Light, a satanic group founded in 1995 in Sweden by Shahin Northwood, John Nordveit, and Johan Norman. This group is famous for their crimes, including murder and alleged domestic abuse. The group published a few books such as Liber Falsifer and Liber Azerate, which are most studied by Satanists even today. The group named their belief Chaosophy, which is essentially the belief in the biblical creation story, but unlike Christians, they do not see the creation as a good thing. They reject Yahweh, and wish to see this creation had not taken place via ceremonial magic or by destruction of it entirely. In 1997, Joseph Ben was murdered by Shaheen and John. It was described as a homophobic hate crime by law enforcement. After searches in the homes of both suspects, the police found satanic altars and a human skull. Shaheen's girlfriend described the group's practices, which included invocation, animal sacrifice, and meditation. Over the weeks leading up to Joseph's murder, there were talks about human sacrifice and mass suicide amongst the group. Luciferianism. Luciferianism is a contested topic within Satanism. There are many who do not believe it constitutes as a sect, and there are many who do. This primarily stems from the division between Luciferians who believe Satan and Lucifer are the synonyms or different entities. Luciferians usually see Satan as either the light bringer, liberator, or the true God, as opposed to sects such as Diabolism, which see Satan in the Christian interpretation. Luciferians have their own various interpretations of the biblical texts. History. The term Luciferian was first used in Gesta Trevorium in the 13th century to accuse a woman named Lusardis. She was accused of running a religious circle which sought to restore Lucifer as the ruler of heaven. Lucifer, published in 1887, was a theosophical book in which the author, Helen Blavatsky, depicted Lucifer as an opposite force to Abraham, with Jesus being the balancing forces between. The view was based on earlier writings by the occultist Rudolf Steiner. The Lucy Trust, or the Lucifer Publishing Company, is a non-profit organization founded in 1922. The purpose of the organization was the founder Alice Bailey and her husband Foster Bailey could use it as a fiduciary trust to publish 24 books of occult philosophy. The name attributed to Bailey's study of theosophy, which had teachings that Lucifer brought intelligence of mankind. Fraternitas Saturni was the first organized Luciferian group, to my knowledge, founded in 1926, continuing to operate even into the present day. Order of the Morning Star, founded in 1956, propagating their own form of Luciferianism, selling courses for corresponding lessons. In their 12th lesson, they presented the book Lumiel, or Lucifer. Michael W. Ford founded the Great Church of Lucifer in 2015, founded by protest by the local Christian townspeople and subsequently being shut down. Sevenfold Way and the Order of the Nine Angles. The Sevenfold Way is the O9A's belief system. It is explained in the text Naos. The O9A advocates for militant paganism. Part of their self-initiation process is a series of progressively more difficult challenges to prove physical and mental capability to join the group. They claim to be traditional Satanists, although their belief actually puts little emphasis on the worship or veneration of Satan. Their beliefs usually consist of New Age paganism, with aspects of Hermeticism. The group is well known for their several attacks on innocent people, their advocacy for human sacrifice, and the aspects of neo-Nazism within the group. The order wishes to establish a militaristic, satanic social order, which it dubs the Imperium. It believes by doing this, the Aryan society will colonize our solar system. Members are encouraged to break down taboos by committing crime, isolating themselves from society, and carrying out human sacrifice. The ultimate goal of the O9A is to establish this imperium through ceremonies, political extremism, and acts of violence. History. According to the members of the order, it was founded in the Welsh marshes in the late 1960s by a witch who previously belonged to a pre-Christian religious sect. In 1973, an individual named Anton Long joined the group, becoming a Grand Master not long after. It is believed the name Anton Long may be a pseudonym for the UK-based neo-Nazi David Miat, although this has never been fully confirmed. This is the word of the order. None of it is confirmed. Through the 1970s and 80s, Long wrote several articles and books spreading the ideas of the order. Later, in 1988, published in their own journal called Fenro. Through this, the order managed to establish links with other Nazi networks abroad, notably Atomwaffen Division, Temple of Blood, Black Order, and National Action. Joy of Satan Ministries and Temple of Zeus. The Temple of Zeus, formerly known as Joy of Satan Ministries, is a satanic group which operates almost entirely online. Founded in 2004 by Maxine Dietrich, TOZ believes Satan is an extraterrestrial who is in a cosmic battle with the reptilians. They believe Satan, alongside the goetic demons, are the ones who created humanity via complex genetic engineering, and in turn the reptilians created the Jewish race by combining their DNA with that of Neanderthals. As I'm sure you can imagine, many of these beliefs are incredibly controversial within Theistic Satanism. Their main text is Kitab al-Jawar, also referred to as the Black Book of Satan. History. Some of this information may be incorrect. TOZ have no information on their website about their history, so I've had to resort to third-party accounts of the series of events. TOZ was established as NPO, non-for-profit organisation, in 2004 by Maxine Dietrich, under the name of Joy of Satan Ministries. Her husband, Clifford Harrington, was the chairman of the National Socialist Movement and one of the largest neo-Nazi groups in America. This actually caused a degree of controversy within the National Socialist Movement, as it made somewhat of a divide between Christian identity and the different beliefs of its membership. Maxine inevitably stepped back in 2025 and the group renamed itself to Temple of Zeus, making huge changes to the cosmetics and functionality of the site, but keeping most of the original text or messaging. Part 2. Advice for beginners. For this segment, I'll be giving some advice for those who wish to begin their journey in Satanism and those who are studying from an outsider's point of view. This consists mainly of questions I've been asked over the years and things I believe is important to know before starting to practice or study. Never take anything at face value. My biggest piece of advice for anyone beginning in Satanism is question absolutely everything. Nothing is as it seems, and there is always more to learn. Never allow yourself to believe you know anything on a particular topic. Those who convince themselves they know everything on a topic will not strive to learn further. Their arrogance limits their potential. Avoid arguments. A pattern I've noticed among those who begin in Satanism is they engage in petty online discourse. This is only a pointless exercise which only serves to waste energy. It often distracts these individuals from practicing Satanism. Their life ends up revolving more around arguing with other Satanists online than actually practicing Satanism or bettering their lives. Avoid this. Preserve your practice. Satanism is a small community and many Satanists want to help but don't know how. The best way to help Satanism and preserve Satanic traditions is through the internet. Anyone can start a social media account with very little experience or skill. By doing this, you will preserve information for future Satanists to stumble upon. Or if you're the more literate type, write a book. These materials will be sought after by Satanists in years to come. Another method of preservation would be to pass our traditions down to our children. Children cannot be Satanists, although the beliefs of their parents greatly influence people later in life. Many adults who grew up with Satanist parents may turn to Satanism as a belief. Take what makes sense and discard the rest. One of the most frequent questions I've been asked is, where do I start in Satanism? I've thought about this for a long time, and I don't believe there is a good answer. The specific thing which an individual is looking for within Satanism isn't universal. It varies greatly between individuals. My best advice would be experiment and mingle with everyone. Find those you agree with along with those you do not. Learn what you can from them and implement what works into your practice. Live true to principle. Many people focus far too heavily on the aesthetics of Satanism. Sure, you can have the biggest altar or the grandest offering, but it means nothing if you do not genuinely venerate Satan outside of the image you present. I've come across many individuals who seem very invested in Satanism for their public persona, although their knowledge is far from extensive. If anything, I'd argue those who put more emphasis on the aesthetic generally know less about Satanism than those who don't. Satanism is not a trend, nor is it something you can apply yourself when convenient. If you cannot handle that level of devotion, that's perfectly fine, but Satanism is not for you. Live true and don't lie to yourself. Avoid mixing drugs and practice. I've been asked many times, do you believe I can achieve enlightenment through drugs? To which the answer is a resounding no. True enlightenment can only come from within. No substance will ever give you that. The negative effects of drugs is impairing your cognitive abilities. It opens up the question of, how can you know this was a true spiritual experience if you're high on drugs? It does not seem worth it, in my opinion. Never ask of the gods what you can achieve alone. Satan and his demons are not your fairy godmother or a genie in a bottle. These forces deserve your respect. Do not ask them for something which you can reasonably attain yourself. That is simply laziness, and I doubt you will ever achieve a response. You may invoke a negative reaction by doing something like this. Many demons will not be appreciative of their time wasted. Building habit. Building a habit of devotion is essential to maintaining frequent practice. After all, if you never do something, how likely are you to remember it or seek to further your knowledge on it? If you truly wish to be a Satanist long term, you must build a relationship with Satan and make Satanism a habit. About the author. I'm Ecstasy. I've been a practicing Satanist since I was 11 to 12. I run a YouTube channel focused on Theistic Satanism and the community surrounding the religion. I am not affiliated with any sect of Satanism. I choose to take a more individualistic approach to my practice. Over my years of practice, I've spoken to hundreds of Satanists, mainly online, although I've met a good few face to face. My goal is to present Satanism in a casual way in which anyone can understand, with as little bias as possible and remaining consistent with the beliefs of Satanism. I wish to preserve my practice for those who will become Satanists in the future. I believe what we have is worth saving for future generations.